and I think Dr. Ramkumar also, he will try to join for some time.
Okay, we are live now. We are live now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to day 2 of Refining and Petrochemicals World IE 2021. Our theme this year is Flexible Refining for Future Sustainability. And for our first session for this afternoon, we will be discussing new technology interventions. As a session chairman, we have Dr. Madhusudan Sau, ED Indian Oil, who will be chairing this session. A little bit more about Mr. Sau, or rather Dr. Sau. He is a chemical engineer, MTech from IIT Kanpur, and a PhD from University of Akron, USA. He has been working in the R&D Center of Indian Oil Corporation for the past 28 years, and currently he is Executive Director for the Refining Technology. His area of work includes new process technology and catalyst development, process modeling, and technical services, as well as troubleshooting and optimization, technology and catalyst selection in the area of refining technology. His major contributions are development scale-up and commercialization of Indy diesel technology, catalyst, Nicomax, Indico P2F, and bouquet of hydroprocessing technology, process optimization of refinery process units to improve middle distillates yield and GRM improvement. He has published over 36 papers, filed 150 patents, and has 10 national and international awards to his credit, including the World Petroleum Congress Hydrocarbon Processing, FIPI, and MOPNNG Award on Best Indigenous Technology. So over to Dr. Madhusudan Sau to head this session.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Fernandez, for your nice introduction. So, dear speakers in the panel, delegates of Refining and Petrochemicals World IE 2021 Conference, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me thank MTech for having me as a session chair. So, I would like to welcome you all in the very relevant and interesting technical session, New Technology Intervention. This is the first of the 2 sessions scheduled in this conference. So before going into the deliberation by the speakers, let me put forth some facts and roadmap for refining industry before you. As you know, the oil and gas industry is going through one of the most exciting and challenging energy transition. Many of these are driven by the factors like reduction in CO2 emission, emergence of disruptive technologies like EVs, crude prices, and shift in product demand patterns in terms of gasoline and diesel. Regarding the crude price volatility, you have seen that current pandemic during that time, crude oil varies from $19 in March 20 to about $84 per barrel currently. So now let us look at the global and Indian energy outlook. So if we see by 2050, primary energy requirement of the globe will increase by about 25%, which is like a 0.72 CAGR. And if we see that oil for that, so it starts from negative 0.3% to plus 0.28%. Now coming to India, so India today, we are having about 800 million tons of oil equivalent. And from there, in 2050, in various scenarios like a business as usual, rapid or net zero, so we'll be changing from current level to 2.2 to 2.5 times. So close to 2,000 million tons of oil equivalent, which translate to a CAGR of 2.9%, and oil in that case is 2.1%. So even though our oil share in 2050, it will reduce in the energy mix from current level of 30%, it will go up to 22%. But because of our energy demand is more, so oil, refining capacity almost will be double from the current level of 250. So this is like one of the trend. And this, I mean, in the energy mix, like a renewable percentage will be increased substantially. And in by 2050, the 90% of the world's energy growth will occur in India. And further to this, that COP26 at Glasgow is scheduled end of this month. So to deliberate and make further commitment on climate change by the member countries, so which will also accounted for future roadmap. Now, if we see the petrochemical outlook, now demand growth for the petrochemical, I mean, outspaced the GDP growth, almost 1.4 times the GDP. And today, if you see in India, the plastic consumption is like a 1/3 the world average, which is at like 11 kg per capita. And this per capita consumptions will increase tremendously as we need to have these economic activities and projected GDP. So this growth in the petrochemical will contribute about 40% of the increase in total oil demand. So what I mentioned earlier, like a double the refining capacity, but again, 40% will go towards petrochemical demands. That's the very key information and roadmap. So after establishing the fact that there is a need for refining capacity enhancement, but how our future refinery look like? What should be the critical parameters when you configure the new refineries? So I mean, several things will be deliberated during the oral conferences, but in this session, couple of aspects will be deliberated. One of them will be molecular management. In a conventional refining, olefins are produced as a byproduct. And today in conventional refinery, like a 4 to 5% of the petrochemical feedstock we get from the crude oil, and which in the due course need to increase. So our petrochemical intensity has to increase, and down the lane integrations with a further polymers will happen, and thereby carbon destinations from the future refinery will end up in a solid carbon. So that is one of the trend where Mr. Mandal from Reliance and Dr. Das from IOCL will deliberate how petrochemical intensity in a refinery can be increased. Now, second aspect is that how we can do our business, we can have a yields and selectivity of the process and product with process intensification and using new materials. So process intensification will be taken by KBC consultant Mr. Dr. Jagdish, and Mr. Young will take us through that how like a thermoplastics and new materials will be used in the refining industry. Now, third critical aspect, considering that today's government's Atmanirbhar Bharat and Making India initiative, catalyst is the heart of any of the refining process, and more than 90% of the process are catalytic in nature. However, in India, we lack this catalyst ecosystem, which involves formulation, raw material availability, scale up, and manufacturing. So all these aspects to be covered by the lone catalyst manufacturing company in refining area is the Mr. Sutkemi. So Mr. Arvind Narayanan will be deliberating on this aspect. So as you know, in this session, we have 5 distinguished speakers. So we will have, each speaker will have like a maximum up to 14 minutes. And then at the end of the lecture, so we'll have a questions for deliberation. So with this, I would like to invite Mr. Sukumar Mandal. So let me introduce him. So Sukumar Mandal is MTech from IIT Kanpur, worked in IOCL for 16 years. And after that, he joined Reliance. Currently, he is working as Vice President Research in Reliance. So his work area include FCC, delayed coking, catalytic gasification. So he has more than 45 patents and 20 publications, besides several conference presentations. So he has won several national awards, namely NPNP, DST, Petrofed, and ICI ICC award. So with this, I like to invite Mr. Mandal to deliberate, his prospect on how petrochemical intensity in a refinery can be increased. Over to you, Mr. Mandal.
Yeah, good afternoon. Is it my voice is audible?
Yeah, it's slide is visible and you are clearly audible. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon.
And first of all, thank you, session chair, for kind introduction. And I really want to thank to the organizer for giving us opportunity to present our thoughts on oil to chemicals. And the theme is basically optimum energy configuration and Aray's MCC process. As Mr. Chairman has said that how the refinery is basically facing the challenges and how the changes will take place. So among all those challenges, in my presentation, I want to see that how the refinery can change the operation to address that issue. So the first is, this is a standard disclaimer. It basically says that whatever data and information I am sharing, it is on my personal capacity. The Reliance is not liable for any infringement or any information given, and which is being copied by somebody else to implement practically. And this next, basically, as I know that more or less you know about the Reliance, but still I just want to just refresh with a very few points. Reliance has built 3 new mega growth engines in the single decade. And namely, it's a Geo, the digital life. Second is the Reliance retail. And third is the Reliance O2 chemical business. And among them, if you see this, yeah, so the Reliance is basically what we said, it is a made in India. It is made for India and it's by Indian company, which has always treated its investors, whether it's a big or small, as a value partners in building growth, the world-class and world-scale assets that have made India proud, which has always aligned its business with the national goals and priorities for making India self-reliant, strong, and prosperous, whose innovative products and services have created immense societal value by touching the lives of 800 million Indians and potentially all 1.3 billion Indians, which is now at the beginning of the new and unprecedented waves of wealth creations for India by harnessing the power of new technologies to fire its diverse growth engines. And as you know, already our honorable chairman declares that 4 mega factories for transition the energy, considering the present changes. Now, I'll come back to my presentation. Sorry. Yeah. So basically, my agenda to cover is a small introduction. Then O2C, that oil to chemical approaches. What is that? What is global trends? Direct steam cracking, then different configuration for max aromatics or max olefins. And then I'll talk about little bit about the MCC process called multi-zone catalytic cracking process and the economic comparisons of the different configuration with MCC. And then I'll summarize. Now, why the future of oil is in chemicals? So to give that address, here is a major point is that, like say, innovation in oil to chemical technology development, it's mainly driven by 2 major factors. The first, depending on the rate of transition from the IC engine to EV, the global demands on transportation fuel like gasoline, diesels may reach peak around the year 2030, and may begin to decline rapidly beyond 2040, and thus the market need new directions. So this number of the year where peak will reach, different people may pick a different time, but surely it is going to reach to a peak and then going to decline, considering the present all facts. The second factor is that the supply-demand gap for chemical and petrochemical is increasing rapidly, especially in India, with upward trend in GDP. As you know, the GDP growth into 1.5 times is basically the chemical growth. This is a notional kind of correlation. Hence, while two chemicals is an opportunity to convert low value into high value chemicals, and therefore seeking to push barrel oil into chemical market. Hence, the several disruptive technologies are being developed that remove the boundary between refinery and petrochemical plants while improving great margin over making fuel products. And as you said here, the prediction is that presently world chemicals production from the oil is 16%, and it will grow to 20% globally by 2040. Now, oil to chemical approaches. What is that? See, the crude oil, if you see the fundamentally, that's constitute aromatics, naphthens, and high olefins and paraffins. Now, if you want to make chemicals, then what you want to do, you basically retain the aromatics as aromatics, particularly single chain aromatic compound, and with substituent branches. Then naphthens you can crack to aromatics or light olefins or paraffins. Higher olefins and paraffins you convert to the lower olefins and paraffins, and then the lower olefins and paraffin you further crack and make to light olefins. So this is the basically approach normally make from the crude oil to maximize the aromatics, which is the chemical compounds, and also the light olefins. And if you see the world configuration, normally you will see it will be steam cracker, hydrocracker, coking. So that's the one combination that will give the max olefins. And especially this configuration will make more C2 olefins like ethylene. Then another configuration is that you make steam cracking for the lighters, then VGO-HT, VGO hydrotreat, and then hydrotreated VGO, you crack it the high severity FCC, and coking basically to rejection of the cokes. So basically this kind of configuration also makes a good amount of propylene and ethylene. And another configuration, if you address the heavy crudes, then slurry hydrocrackings of crudes, and then do HSFCC and steam cracking. Combination also you get the different olefins and high value chemicals like BTX. I'm sorry. Yeah. So now the whole global trend is what? The existing refinery are reconfiguring towards 20-25% crude to chemical. Because present value, if you see, they are less than 10% of the crudes is converted to BTX and olefins. So by existing refinery using existing process, new catalyst and new asset addition basically is making olefin and chemicals is 20-25%. So that what I said that principally they adopt steam cracker to upgrade C3, C4 to the light olefins. Then they upgrade the heavy naphtha by using a reformer to make the high aromatics. You do the hydrocracking, you make a lighter feedstock for the steam cracker, or we make a feedstock for the high severity FCC, and high severity FCC basically upgrade the VGO to the light olefins and gasoline. This is the normal trend. So one of them is the steam cracking of the entire crudes in the light olefins. In this process, so this configuration basically steam cracking of the crude to olefins. The light crude oil is partially vaporized in the temperature range of 480 to 540 into lighters and heavier fractions. The heavier fraction flows down a distillation packing or catalytic packing where steam is injected from the bottom to heat to temperature as high as 700 plus, so that the heavy hydrocarbons can mildly crack to generate additional light fractions and sent into steam cracking furnace. And the remaining heavier fraction has to be absorbed by the adjoining refinery. So it is too heavy for the steam cracker fire. This configuration is practiced commercially in some cases. However, the major issues of this configuration is oil coking and limited product flexibility. Hence, it is not widely practiced. Now, another configuration where crude oil, whole crude oil sent to the CDU, VDU, you make the crack, the lighter part, which goes to the steam cracker. You make ethylene propylene. Then you can send these the naphtha cuts to the reformer. You make BTX, that is benzene, paraxylene, orthoxylenes and all, or some amount of gasoline. And the detergents product, you hydrocrack it, even visual hydrocrack. You get the lighter products, it goes to the steam cracker, and the naphtha goes to the reformer, so that you again get the BTX. And sometimes some refining configuration, it makes the lube oil bed stocks. And then the heavier part basically do the slurry hydrocracking or SDA, the solvent deasphalting. So then the deasphalted oil goes to the visual hydrocracking, and again you get subsequently with lighter products. And whatever piece you are getting, you do the gasification with coal, that is coal gasification, you make hydrogen. So this hydrogen basically supply the hydrogen needed for the diesel hydrocracking or visual hydrocracking there in this all. So in this configuration, based on this configuration, some configuration is well known in the practice in the China, like Hengli refinery, Hengli, that is a Dalian refinery, or Jiangjiang refinery. They have already in operation that 400 kVPSDs their operation, and also they are already planned and they are operating some of these refineries, Jiangjiang and Liangjiang or Kofi and Panjin. So this configuration basically their main aim to maximize BTX. Sorry.
So Mandalji, 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. In this configuration, basically to maximize olefin configuration, this is to make olefin configuration. And if you see that it use again hydrotreating, hydrocracking, and ultimately they use steam cracker and HSFCC. And after post-processing, they are making olefins and aromatics. And this configuration purpose to make more olefin, particularly ethylene. Then in this context, the Reliance has developed a process called multi-zone catalytic cracking, where single riser with multi-zones, sequential cracking of different available feedstocks, crude, C4 receipts, and both paraffinic, olefinic, this is all an oxygenates cracks. It makes petrochemicals more than 70%, including ethylene more than 25%, and propylene 30 to 35%, BTX 15%. And this is possible by combination of multifunctional catalyst, and it's basically heat balance between light feed and heavy feed. And this configuration like FCC, but major innovation is that it is a multi-zone catalytic cracking, and you are injecting feed depending on the cracking severity required for each kind of feedstock to be processed. So that shows the right side configuration is the MCC reactor, gas is a fractionators, and from after separation, whatever ethane propane is there, you basically send to the gas cracker furnace, and again use the same gas con configuration. And whatever naphtha you are producing, you do the aromatic extraction by using a Reliance innovative process. So you take the naphtha out, the aromatic out, and then you recycle the non-aromatic part to the riser. And it has a flexibility of the wide range of feedstock, and depending on the product you want, you can basically maximize the product like EP, EP plus E4, and the various objective what you want. So we just compare the max aromatic case, max olefin case, and max and MCC case. If you see this, the feedstock for both the max aromatics and max olefin case is crude. But in case of MCC, it basically crude, and then all refinery feedstocks can be used. And in addition, is a condensate, tight oils, it can be used. Here, oxygenates cannot be used for other two configuration, but MCC, yes. The processing, mostly these two configuration uses steam cracker, reformer, SDA. Second is steam cracker, high severity FCC. For our MCC case is basically MCC and gas cracker furnace integrated process. We don't need external hydrogen. They use a steam cracker for the lighter parts, and they case to max olefin case use high severity FCC. And if you see this value, so that MCC case is maximize the BTX and olefins, both the olefins. And this, the last slide is compare the yield. What we have done it here, we call it constant HVC. It means high value chemical. What is that? Ethylene, propylene, and BTX. So here we have compared for making 4.75 million metric tons of high value chemicals. So if you see this first configuration, max aromatic case makes 7.6 ethylene, which is 20.6 for the max olefin case, and for MCC case is 22. Propylene, it's only 2.94, whereas it is 20 for the max olefin case, and in case of MCC 31.3. BTX again is a maximized for max aromatic case, that's why 28.4. It is 11.1, then 16.3 for our case. So the total high value case is 42.6 for the high aromatic case, whereas high olefin case is 52 plus, and it is around 70% for MCC case. And if you see the capex and the capacity and all, you need 12.2 million metric ton for making the same amount of HVC, whereas in case of MCC required only 6.8. And the capex is basically more or less only 55% of the base case. At the simple payback, it is only 3.24 versus 5. And the life cycle cost, which is calculated based on capex charges plus operating cost. So in our case, more or less advantage of around $100 per metric ton. So this is only possible by the three factors, that is feed advantage, capex efficiency, and OPEX efficiency. That's the reason for getting the advantage for MCC process. So I just want to conclude out of the from this, the chemicals will continue to grow due to decline in the growth of the transportation fuel. Steam cracking of crude oil to chemical is not an attractive option. New crude to chemical refineries configuration is being developed, exploiting ultimate integration of the existing technologies. In this context, MCC provides one such most flexible and capex OPEX efficient platform, where using a highly innovative patented multi-zone concept, which solve the many contradictions in the direct conversion of the crude oil to chemicals with great high yield of chemicals and virtually no production of fuels. With that, thank you very much. And we feel the MCC will be a disruptive process for converting a refinery from fuel refinery to chemical refinery. Thank you very much for listening there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mandal, for a nice presentations and elaborating on MCC process, how it compares with the other, and how like a very short payback period, can this revolutionize the refining industry for going for a high petrochemical intensity. So now people who have a question, please put in the chat box, so we'll take at the end. Now I'll invite Dr. S.K. Das. So he holds a BTech from Calcutta University and MTech Kanpur IIT and PhD from IIT Delhi. He is currently General Manager in Indian Oil R&D. So his active research areas include, residue processing. It covers both thermal and catalytic process. and he has more than 26 years experience in this area. So he is responsible for commercialization of residue upgradation technologies. So over to you, Dr. Das. So please complete in 13 minutes.
Thank you for introduction. Very good afternoon to all. I will speak on residue upgradation towards enhanced crude to chemical. Outline my presentation will be like this. This is a basically global energy outlook, primary energy outlook up to 2050 based on BP, OPEC and product demand growth rate based on OPEC are shown in this slide. As all know, several scenarios are being predicted by the different agencies about the contribution of oil in the primary energy basket. It is also projected the growth rate of lighter product higher than the middle distillate due to demand of oil towards petrochemical products. If you see, as per BP outlook, under all scenario, business as usual, rapid transition, net zero in Indian primary energy consumption is more than double by 2050, and the growth is underpinned by the increasing population and prosperity of India. As a result of strong growth, India accounts for 35% of the increase in global primary energy consumption in 2018 to 2050 in the business as usual scenario. However, the contribution of the oil in the energy mix may decrease as the strict regulatory policy continue to be enforced. In order to ensure the profitability of the refinery, emission reduction along with enhancing chemical yield are to be adopted in a big way. The petrochemical demand forecast based on OPEC and IHS market is shown here. Growth in petrochemical will be contributing about 35 to 40% increase in total oil demand. Petrochemical demand growth rate is driven by GDP growth rate. It is almost around 1.4 times of GDP. And there is a high potential of growth of the petrochemical in India since per capita consumption is only 1/7 of the world average. So there is a need for refinery and petrochemical integration. So refinery scenario, what will be a strategy for refinery? They have to maximize distillate production with heavier crude for further conversion and integration with petrochemical, value addition with through facility chemical, and operation flexibility as per crude quality and product demand, and environment friendly. A lot of R&D strong R&D intervention is required for development of superior process, bottom of the barrel type conversion, robust fit to purpose catalyst for longer cycle life, and for reduction of carbon footprint, molecular level management for better research, etc. So as you all aware, the crude is becoming heavier day by day. So resid content in the crude also increasing. So more resid in the crude means complexity of the refinery also increasing. So resid management is a cornerstone of the crude to chemical project selection. So there are several resid application technology, as you all know, they are based on carbon injection, iron addition based. These are the popular technology, solvent, delayed coking resid. Out of this, delayed coking is the cheapest one. Hydrocracking, a hydrogen addition, there is a fixed bed, ebullited slurry bed, but they produce a 5 to 12% each with catalyst, but it is cost intensive, both cost intensive. So research in heavy oil upgradation important driver for the refinery. So internal solution for resid upgradation for COTC scenario. Several internal resid upgradation technology. Inimax is a milestone technology which can handle VGO up to ratio feedstock. It is a technology VGO stock. It produces higher light olefins, ethylene, propylene, butylene, high octane gasoline, rich in BTX. Delayed coker is another technology for converting resid to value added product through thermal route. InCoker is our advanced coker technology for reduction of coke yield from fuel grade coke. InRes is a slurry hydrocracking technology for upgrading vacuum receipt for production of middle distillate meeting BIS 6 specification. We have a gasifier technology for coke to value-added syngas. Syngas can be further converted to olefins. Along with secondary conversion coupled with residue upgradation, we have a Indalin technology for catalytic cracking technology enhancing olefin yield from lighter feedstock such as cracked naphtha. InLPET is our neutral mild hydrocracking technology for production of aromatic for light cycle oil. InMax is our flagship technology. It can process wide range of feedstock. Processes flexibility switch over to produce suiting market demand. Typical yield pattern range of InMax process is shown in this table. It produces a higher amount of light olefins, gasoline, rich in VTX, which can easily be integrated with petrochemicals. It also produces feedstock for alkylation unit and feedstock to ETB, TAME, and dimer units. InMax commercial snapshot several unit is coming in near future. Apart from Indian Oil, we are also licensing to NIA Serbia as well as NRL. Indian delayed coker technology, we have successfully implemented commercial 6 TMTA capacity coker in Baroni refinery, and we are also licensing Baroni coker B, where feed CCR will be 9 to 10.24%. Also, we are also licensing for NRL rebound from 0.30 mm to 0.56 mm with increased feed CCR from 19.72 to 38%. Indian Oil also developed advanced coker technology for reduction of coke yield for fuel grade coke. It is successfully we have demonstrated in pilot and commercial scale. It is superior to conventional coker. It produces 4 to 5% less coke compared to conventional coker. Utility requirements similar to conventional diesel. It is high attractive IR and payback period. It has a significant potential for deployment in upcoming refinery expansion, grassroots and rebound project. Yeah, we have a in-residue project. This is the upgradation of vacuum residue using hydrocracking process. Conversion around 94 to 96%. Middle distillate yield around 50.6%. In meeting BI 6. Whenever fuel demand, we can divert it to the InMax unit along with the InMax feedstock. We can produce more light olefins and aromatics, and LCO range of InMax we can produce to InLPET for production of aromatic in crude to chemical scenario.
Yeah, that's 3 more minutes.
Later crude to chemical already Sukumar Mandal has told in this mate. I am not going to this. I will go to the Indian crude to chemical IOCL technology. IOCL configuration for IOCL consists of major following Indian Oil technology: Indalin, InLPET, InMax, InCoker, and Indesit. Here we can see the crude is firstly separated and fractionated into light, middle, and heavy cuts. The lighter cuts such as SRN, coker, naphtha from InCoker, LN for InLPET is utilized in the Indalin unit, which is basically a catalytic cracking unit, a unit which produces light olefins and aromatics. Middle cut is the range of VGO utilized in InMax unit for production of olefins. LCO steam for InMax unit is utilized in InLPET unit for production of aromatics. Heavier cut is utilized either in InResid or InCoker for extracting value-added product from receipt. This configuration can produce chemicals up to more than 58%. If we put our own gasifier, if you gasify our InCoker coke, then if you produce syngas will be further converted to chemical. It is possible to increase chemical around 2-8%. If we put naphtha coker unit, thermal naphtha coker unit in our configuration 2, and if you recycle C233 along with part of Indalin naphtha, Then our crude to chemical conversion additional increased by 8%. So in summary, I can tell crude oil demand was expected to decline due to change in global primary energy mix, and light olefin derivative import dependency projected to increase in Indian scenario. Refinery and petrochemical integration resid management, key factor for higher crude to chemical conversion. Indian Oil has developed several state-of-the-art residue upgradation technologies such as INMAX, delayed coker, in-coker, in-desit, gasification plugging into crude to chemical configuration, along with secondary conversion units such as Indalin, Ninel, PET. Feasible to achieve higher crude to chemical conversion using combination of tailor-made process technology. Indian Oil was gearing up for shift toward future demand for chemicals through its own crude to chemical technology. Thank you, audience, for patiently listening, and thank you for organization giving me opportunity for presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Das, for your for presenting several Indian Oil's technology basket for residue upgradation and increasing petrochemical intensity. Now I'll call upon Dr. Jagdish Donepudi. So he is a PhD in chemical engineering from UDCT. So then you can answer your presentation so that
Okay.
Jagdish can answer it.
Okay.
More than 30 years experience in refinery with various companies, HPCL, Aramco, Onar Aspen, and Intercat. Currently, Dr. Jagdish is working at KBC Advanced Technologies as Director Business Development. And so with this, I like to invite Dr. Jagdish. Satyam, please answer your presentation. Yeah, Jagdish to make a presentation on process intensification. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Jagdish.
Are you able to see my screen or?
No, you need to share it actually.
Okay, 1 minute.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I don't got hanged or what?
If it is there, then we can go to Mr. Arvind. Arvind, are you ready?
Yes, Dr. Sir.
Yeah. I think Jagdish will take after you. So Arvind, So Arvind is a graduate in chemical engineering from NIT Jalandhar. So he is his work. Satyam, please mute yourself. So before joining Sutkemi, he worked in catalyst division of NCL, and then he has like 18 years experience in Sutkemi, working various type of catalysts, technical service development, as well as post-sale service. So he is currently heading refinery and petrochemical catalyst business. So Dr. Arvind will make a presentation of indigenous innovation and commercialization of catalysts. Over to you, Mr. Arvind. Yeah, please complete in about 13 minutes because we are running little sort of time. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sao.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, delegates for the conference, a very good afternoon. My topic for presentation today is indigenous innovation and commercialization of catalysts Sutkemi experience. The topic is a bit different from the rest of the speakers. In the opening statement, Dr. Sao mentioned about the importance of catalysts in a refining industry. So this is something which doesn't need further explanation. Right? Back in 1970s, if you see, almost all of the process catalysts which are used were imported. Around that time, we started manufacturing in India to mainly cater to the fertilizer industries. Around that time, there was green revolution. There were a lot of ammonia, urea plants that was built. So the first catalyst that was made in the country was high temperature shift catalyst. And over a period of last 5 decades, from one catalyst for one particular industry, we've grown to make more than 100 different catalysts for various industries, not just limited to fertilizer, but also to refining petrochemicals, fine chemicals, pharmaceutical applications, and also for the steel industry. At this point of time, we can make about more than 80% of the catalysts which are used in the syngas industry indigenously. And more than 50% of products which are manufactured at the Indian production site are all exported. With this introduction, I will get started with my presentation. I hope you can see the screen.
Screen is okay, and please go ahead. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So the agenda for my presentation is we'll present a very short, quick overview of the company. We'll talk a little bit about the product portfolio. We'll talk about the industry partnerships, the partnerships we have with the technology licensors and third-party research labs. Then we'll talk about the unique attributes of the catalyst industry, what makes this very unique and different from other chemical industries. And as conclusion, we'll talk about what is required to attain Atmanirbhar Bharat in the world of catalysis. Right? We'll start with the company overview. Prior to 2011, Clariant and Sukumar were two different companies. Sukumar started way back in 1857. It was started by a gentleman called Dr. Justus von Liebig. He was the father of the fertilizer industry. And around 1886, Clariant started as Sandoz Chemical Company. And in 2011, Clariant acquired Sukumar. So globally, the Sukumar sites were renamed as Clariant. But in India, we have a unique identity because we cater to a market which is very, very specific to the Indian market. And so we chose to retain the identity of Sukumar, but the rest of the world, we operate under the Clariant name. So Clariant has three business areas. One is care chemicals, one is catalysis, one is natural resources. And catalysis is the Sukumar business. So within the BU Catalyst, there are 7 global manufacturing sites. As you can see, the blue dots here in the United States, in Louisville, in Germany, in Munich. There is Toyama, Japan. There is Richards Bay in South Africa, and then Novara in Italy. And you will also see that there are 2 manufacturing sites in India, Baroda and Kochi. We'll talk a little bit about this in the following slide. We started in Kochi in 1969. This is the production site where we make a lot of the syngas catalysts, copper-zinc-based catalysts, vanadium pentoxide catalysts. And in 1974, we started the second manufacturing unit in Baroda. And this is the site where we make most of the refining catalysts, FCC additives, automotive, mobile catalytic converters, and all of these. And both the production sites have R&Ds associated with them because in addition to innovation that comes out from the R&D also spends a lot of time in troubleshooting, plant support, and all these activities. We'll touch upon a little bit on the product portfolio. So BU Catalyst has different market segments. The major market segments are petrochemicals, gas, refinery, olefin polymerization, and specialty applications. Right? And in terms of the top line, our biggest sales in terms of revenue comes from the petrochemicals. And when we say petrochemicals, these are the catalysts which go into the production of ethylene and propylene. To give you a little bit more details, in the steam cracker, you have selective hydrogenation catalysts, and you have bi-gas hydrogenation, which is the heavy fraction that comes out from the steam cracker. There is propylene recovery unit. It could be propylene from cracker, or it could be propylene from FCC unit. Then there is on-purpose propylene production, PDH, methanol to propylene, styrene, EDC, PVC, and PTA. In the syngas area, there is a catalyst for ammonia, methanol, DRI for the steel plants, sulfuric acid, and a whole bunch of catalysts which are used in the downstream of gasification units, which involves purification of the syngas that comes from the coal gasification or petcoke gasification. There is sour shift, and then there is SMG catalyst. On the refinery side, one of our mainstream products is hydrogen. There are traps and guards for various impurities removal, like sulfur traps and chloride traps. There are catalysts for isomerization. These are high temperature zoolite-based isomerization. Dewaxing, C3C4 olefins, SRU TGTU catalysts, and FCC off-gas recovery units. This is an area which is gaining a lot of traction with the refinery petrochemical integration. In addition to our own set of products, we also have products which are licensed from IOCL, FCC additives, for example, in Max Catalyst. These are the products where IOCL has an IP and we do the manufacturing and marketing of these products. On the olefin polymerization side, we have PP catalyst, and for specialty chemicals, there is phthalic anhydride, formaldehyde, and aromatic saturation. So in addition to the environmental catalyst, there is also, in addition to the process catalyst, we have an environment catalyst division where we make catalysts for air purification. This is for auto exhaust applications and for mobile and stationary engines. There is industrial off gases, and then certain zeolite powders which are used for the diesel exhaust applications. On the fuel cell technology, there are products for processing different fuels into which goes into the fuel cell. And there are different types of sulfur and mercury traps which are used for the purification of natural gas. There is also custom catalyst development toll manufacturing business that we do in addition to the existing products. These are the products which are developed by third party and which leverage our strength of catalyst manufacturing to scale up their recipes. I will talk a little bit about the industry partnership. However good a catalyst is, we cannot derive the full benefit of it unless and until you have good engineering around it. So we also work with a lot of technology licensors. To give some examples for the olefins production, for example, steam crackers, we work with Lamas Technology, Technip, Linde, KBR, and for methanol synthesis, we have partnership with Air Liquide. And for direct reduction of iron ore, there is a partnership with Midrex. But we'd like to focus more on the India partnership. And over the years, the strongest partnerships that we had in the refining sector was with Indian Oil for FCC additives and the INMAX catalyst. We'll give you a little bit of an overview of the collaboration with Indian Oil. Sometime in year 2000, Indian Oil started developing ZSM5 additive. This was used for LPG posting in FCC units. Indian Oil was one of the first few companies in the downstream sector which was focused on catalysis research. And when they developed the recipe in the lab scale, they were looking for a partner who could scale up the recipe and make it in the commercial scale. So at that point of time, Sukumar did not have products for the FCC portfolio. There was clearly no conflict of interest. The portfolio of FCC additives were complementary in nature to our set of products. So there were clear synergies between Sukumar and Indian Oil. IOCL was responsible for the recipe development in the lab scale. Sukumar was responsible for the scale up to pilot in commercial scales. There was close working between the teams. We were leveraging the strengths. IOCL's strengths was in the lab development of the IP, development of the lab recipe. Our strength was in scaling it up from few grams to few hundred tons of the catalyst. And over the period of last 2 decades, several catalysts was commercialized. It was fixed bed catalyst for hydrotreating applications. There were fluid bed catalysts for FCC applications. There was also certain type of adsorbents. As we speak right now, we have a commercial agreement with IOCL where we commercialize the IP of IOCL in different areas of catalysts and adsorbents. And we sell not only within the IOCL refineries, but also outside of IOCL refineries. So this slides provides an overview of our partnership with IOCL. In FCC area, we have partnerships for ZSM5 additive, CO promoter, bottom crack additive, and INMAX catalyst. And for the other areas, hydrotreating areas, there is partnership for India-type adsorbent, there is selective HTS catalyst, and diesel hydrotreating catalyst. So INMAX units in Panipat, in Paradip and Bongaigaon have commissioned with indigenous INMAX catalyst. And till that, we have supplied more than 10,000 tons of INMAX catalyst to both of these operating INMAX unit. And subsequently, next year, there is Barauni that will start up, and there is almost 1 INMAX unit starting every 1.5 years going forward in the future. Similar in the hydrotreating, we have supplied 4 charges of hydrotreating catalyst. The last supply, which was successful, was in for the diesel hydrotreating application, DSTT for thick boy, and another charge was for IOCL Gujarat refinery for DSTT application. In addition to IOCL, we also have industry partnership. For example, BPCL, we've worked on lube dewaxing catalyst. This is
Arvind, 2 minutes. Yeah.
And then similar partnership with Reliance, with NCL, and with HPCL. We will also talk a little bit about some of the indigenous developments. We have developed catalyst for, following a green chemistry approach. A lot of the catalysts in the refining sector are very, very mature. So one of the approaches was to develop catalysts which, give the same level of performance and activity with about 30% of the lower metals. This is to maximize the atom efficiency. Some of the other examples are in areas of sustainability. Hexavalent chrome is used in high temperature shift catalysts, but to meet the REACH regulations, we had to develop a catalyst which is free of hexavalent chrome. Similarly, there are catalysts for refinery petrochemical integration. And there are catalysts for energy efficiency. For example, in a steam methane reforming, pressure drop is very critical. As you see the image on the right-hand side, you have a catalyst which, in a certain shape, which reduces the pressure drop quite significantly across the reformer. Due to the shortage of time, I have to go a little bit faster on these slides. Now, coming to the area.
Arvind, you might summarize actually, because yeah.
Okay. So we will talk very briefly on what makes catalyst manufacturing unique. If you want to set up a catalyst plant, there is no process license. So the technology, recipe, everything has to be developed in-house. The catalyst development is usually a work in progress because every catalyst has only about 5 years of life. And after that, there is a new generation that comes into work. So despite of technological advancement, lab recipe needs special skill and unique experience to scale up. So there's always a question between science and art. Very, very important thing is development of a vendor ecosystem, which doesn't exist in India. So some of the best practices that we suggest to companies which are in the catalyst research are, once a lab recipe is made, reproduce the lab recipe with the commercially available raw materials. Check consistency and reproducibility in multiple batches, at least 3 reproducible batches at each scale. Evaluate the performance of catalyst at each level of scale up. Checking of physiochemical properties is not sufficient. We'll have to evaluate and see how the performance is. Study the impact of various process conditions on the scale up and see what impacts in what way, and generate data on the effluents, which is very, very important. On the last slide, Dr. Sao, in our view, what is required to attain Atmanirbhar Bharat in catalyst? Needless to say, a lot of emphasis on catalyst R&D and indigenous technology development. We see a lot of push from the government of India, and we see a lot of action on the ground over the last 2 years. Development of lab recipe needs to translate into commercial production. There should be always be a very clearly defined business model. Without a rightly defined business model, if you start working in the lab for the development, it may not reach to a commercial success. And catalyst development and deployment thrives in an ecosystem of catalyst manufacturing company, raw material suppliers, and catalyst end users. And we think to accelerate the process of indigenous catalyst production, collaborative approach is something we need to look for. Look for synergies with the catalyst company, look for synergies with operating companies, and start a collaborative approach so that once the catalyst is ready for commercialization, there is a user who's ready to try the catalyst. And last but not the least, for any new product that's introduced to the market, there is a hesitation to use considering the risk. So we believe that if we have to reach Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think very strong sense of leadership is required to commit to this area. With this, I'd like to conclude. I leave you with 2 images here. On the left-hand side is a picture where we were flagging off milestone consignment of INMAX catalyst. This is something to be proud of for all Indians. For able to supply a catalyst of this magnitude based on indigenous technology. And secondly, on the right, you will see BPCL receiving an award for the best R&D innovation for new device catalyst. This is again very commendable considering the complexity of the catalyst.
Yeah, okay, Arvind. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your presentation. So Jagdish, are you able to connect it? You can answer, Arvind. Yeah, Dr. Jagdish.
Yeah.
Are you able to connect it?
Yeah, let's.
There are some questions we have on MCC. Can I please share those with you?
Yeah, MCC question I have forwarded to Dr. Mandal. Yeah, Mr. Mandal, in the meantime, you can see the question.
Sir, are you able to see my screen, sir? Are you able to see my screen?
No, not at all. Please share it, actually. It is not shared.
1 minute.
Hey, where you have shared, in the chat box or where?
In the chat box.
Okay.
No, just go to chat box. One question was there. I have sent it to you.
Are you able to see, sir?
Yeah,
Yes, sir,
yeah,
we can see your
now it's
screen.
okay, Dr. Jagdish. Please go ahead.
Okay.
I think please take about 12 minutes time and.
Yeah, you are generous. I think you have given more time actually. Okay. Okay. My topic for today is on the process intensification. As Dr. Sau Madhusudan has told, I'll be more specific towards the refinery, how we are applying this particular process intensification. Basically, the definition of the process intensification, as we all chemical engineers look at some of the process improvements, energy reductions, and equipment performance, and also waste reduction. These are the various areas where we apply the process intensification to get most economical process, reliable, and also sustainable operations. This is where I come from. KBC, we have a 40 years of innovation where we apply process intensification methodology. We are pioneers in applying the process intensification for improving the yields. I'm not talking, I can improve the yield across the technologies. That's what we have been demonstrating to the industry for 40 years. And also we do it very effectively, this one, using our leading software called Petrosim, which is not only a separation, but also with all the reactor models. That's the key for us to implement this kind of process innovation methods in the industry. We basically focus on 4 or 5 different areas. The first one is on the supply chain. If you walk into refinery, they will try to have the supply chain in selecting the crude. So most of the time we find this LP is not very effective in the sense that they will not be using any kind of sensitivities like B+DL vectors actually. That's one of the problems we see in the industry. So we contribute in upgrading the supply chain side. Yields, and most of the time they do have very good technologies, but they don't get the yields to the design side or over and above the design. That's where KBC uses its technologies to improve the yields in a given environment. This contributes about 40 to 45% of our work. Then energy reduction, I think in the first, Dr. Sukumar Mandal has outlined the net zero. And we have been doing these energy programs for 300 sites actually. And we could see decreasing the energy almost up to 5 to 6% in most of the industries, even within the Indian industry. And last but not least, the maintenance practices, which can give you a lot of results. And basically the 2 main maintenance programs which guzzles the money. One is the maintenance costs, the lot of ad hoc maintenance costs, and also the turnaround. Basically, what KBC does is whether you can improve the cycle time between turnarounds or you can reduce the turnaround time, which we have demonstrated in various industries across the globe. So that's where, again, we see a kind of improvement in the process. In this particular slide, I'm just giving you a snapshot. We did these kind of improvements in over 100 refineries. And I'm giving you a snapshot of 22 refineries where we can see we have improved and implemented 40 to 60 cents per barrel improvements. You can imagine if we implement this in a 200 or 300,000 barrels per day refinery, they could easily get 50 to 100,000, 100 million kind of savings. That I'm not speaking just on the textbook side, but these are the demonstrated figures from various refineries. The methodology is very simple. First, we walk in, we make a baseline based on their current data. Then we use our leading simulation. We emulate the plant and also make a digital twin of the plant. Then we compare these with respect to the benchmark. We identify the gaps and then develop the gaps, how you can close it. This is what exactly we have done. And these gaps, some of them can be in the CDVDU. Most of the time we find CDU, the kind of temperatures, whatever you are having, the profiles are not right, the cut points are not right. We have improved that. Similarly, in the vacuum columns, we see a lot of deep cut. A lot of technologies have spoken about the VGO, but we try to maximize the VGO availability in the downstream. And then we also look at all other reactors, even in the delayed coker, etc. This all we achieve using our leading software called Petrosim with all the reactors. This is the kind of reactor models we develop for a given refinery. We start with the CDVDUs, then get into the secondary processing, FCCs, hydrocrackers, hydrotreaters, isomerization, alkylation, then all the way up to the blending side. And we supplement this particular process simulation with respect to our own team. We have more than 20 to 25 years of experience in different processes. Everybody is a particular specialist in a given process. And then we couple it with these particular digital twins and arrive at the results. This is how we go with the methodology. I'm just giving a simple example of course, I've seen some of the earlier presentations which have shown a lot of new technologies, but what the KBC brings is whatever technology you have, how best you're utilizing. That's the kind of innovation we bring in. This is a simple example. We felt that in a given refinery, we found that isomerate is produced at a very low octane number of 84 versus 87 to 90. Then they had some excess light naphtha. They wanted to route it to the gasoline pool, but gasoline pool was not allowing it to go. There is a room for the octane, but they could not get with respect to the benzene. We went back, looked at the feed of the light naphtha. We found a lot of C7 plus, and also we looked at the reactors, how they're functioning. It is a two-system reactor, which has got a lead and lag reactors. Then we came up with a kind of scheme where we tried to use the lead reactor for cracking more of the C7. If you don't do that, what is happening is C7s are cracking, but they're isomerizing, and more of NC6 is forming. That's the reason why the DH bottom has got less of octane. So this is the kind of innovation, this is the kind of process intensity we go into a given process, and then we try to improve that. Right now, we are working at a number of refineries in improving various processes and resulting of the, as I explained to you earlier, something like 40 to 50 cents per barrel or about $50 million. This is what we're trying to do is the technology don't have to be in the hands of the people. So we are trying to digitalize it. In the digitalization, what we're trying to do is we're reducing the gap from the time you start identifying the idea to the implement. Using this one, we connected this to a real time. Then we are developing the entire refinery-wide flow sheet. That refinery-wide flow sheet, what it does is it takes data, analyzes it, and then compares it with the best benchmarking operating parameters using the AML loops. And then it gives you a dashboard. Where are you in terms of the different processes? What are those gaps? And also some intelligence has been embedded into these loops. What it does is it tells you whether you're operating your column at high pressure or low pressure, whether you're operating it furnace at different heat duties. So that's what we're trying to do. And this particular process side optimization is also integrated with the energy. Most of the time, the energy is towards the supply side, how you're optimizing the steam, oil, or gas. Then what we're trying to do is from the demand side, calculate what is the energy intensity required. That energy is fed back into our energy side. And then a kind of closed loop is formed between the process and energy optimization. That's how we are trying to utilize the digitalization in arriving at all these process improvement, in a relatively less time, and it is also online. With this, we are able to find a lot of value. We are finding right now some of the refineries are able to realize value. One in terms of visualization itself, when they compare with the actual business, with the plan, most of the time, there's a lot of deviation. They're able to correct it very much on time. And the second, on the process optimization side, most of the people are not able to, go across the constraints. We are looking at the constraints very carefully and see what kind of gaps you have. Similarly, on the giveaways like RVPs, etc. And also, we are trying to see on the energy side, most of the time, the energy benchmarking is 1 or 2 years exercise actually, but we are making it online energy benchmarking, looking at all the processes, what the kind of specific consumption it is taking, and also trying to have a real-time benchmarking. And with that, we are not stopping. We're also identifying the gaps, whether it is furnace, whether it is a preheat trains, or it is any kind of equipment. That's how we are able to save something like 4 to 5 cents per barrel for a given refinery. And also we are trying to monitor online on the fouling side, corrosion. These are some of the problems which we feel that they're also giving with the online optimization, we could get 3 to 10 cents. Whatever I've shown to you is most practical where we have implemented. It's not any from any kind of book or anything. So this is with this, this is the kind of philosophy of process intensification we are applying to major oil companies in India as well as globally. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jagdish, for, I mean, you could complete in a very short time. That's good. And thanks for a nice presentations on how process intensification can be utilized in refinery in various process units and to derive the several benefits. So now I'll invite Mr. Tony Young, who will be joining from UK. So Tony Young, actually, he's working over 21 years as a engineer, process design engineer in Green Tweed. And prior to joining Green Tweed, he worked for the British Ministry of Defense on weapon system development for 18 years. He is a member of European Sealing Association and API 610 subcommittee of the UK. So over to you, Mr. Tony. He will be presenting on composite solution for pumps in hydrocarbon processing industry.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction there, and thank you for giving me this opportunity today. So yeah, I'm going to be going Green Tweed's composite solutions for hydrocarbon processing industry and the pumps we process. So Green Tweed have been in business for over 150 years. We basically are a material development focus company with our development on elastomers, thermoplastics, and more recently composites. And we're an engineered solutions provider for seals, electrical connectors, and wear components. So we have a very much a global presence. We have over 1,700 employees working for the company direct across 11 countries. We have manufacturing sites in Taiwan, the UK, and 3 in the US. And we work with our channel partners to give us a bigger global presence. And we also have one in India, which is Vintech, which I'm sure you work with closely. So we serve a variety of markets from aerospace and defense, semiconductor, industrial, and oil and gas, which is obviously where we're concentrating today. So we manufacture a variety of products. Chemraz is our perfluoroelastomer, often used in the chemical industry. We have many sealing solution options, which can be from PTFE, elastomeric, or thermoplastics, structural components for aerospace, electrical and fiber connectors, which is often on the drilling side for the crude oil, and wear and abrasion solutions, which is where we're going to concentrate today. So Green Tweed have over 30 years experience with our composites in centrifugal pumps for the oil market and for chemical processing. And over these 30 years, we've developed many materials to give optimum solutions within pumps. So what we see here is a pump life cycle cost. This was completed in 2003, but is still relatively accurate. So as you can see, you have your initial cost outlay, and the 2 areas here is your maintenance and your energy consumption, which is the biggest areas that your cost of your pump in its life cycle will occur. This is where Green Tweed can offer some advantage by increasing the equipment efficiency, by closing down running clearances. We're able to withstand upset conditions. We're able standardization, and we can include inventory and repair. So our wear and abrasive solutions, our high-performance thermoplastic composites and abrasion parts in pumps can increase efficiency and ensure increased reliability. So we increase the mean time between having to retrofit your pump from lower quality non-metallic materials and rubber components. So our WR wear resistant materials are PEEK or PFA matrix based, and normally with a carbon fiber enforcement there to give the materials their strength and properties. They offer superior dry run capabilities and excellent wear and friction properties, and they're non-gall, non-seize. And they have exceptional chemical resistance. Our AR materials, again, are PEEK or PTFE based and offer superior performance over traditional bearing materials and longer product life. Where are our products used? Within any type of centrifugal pump where you have wearings, bearings or bushings. So in a typical horizontal multi-stage pump, you may have anything up to 12 wearings, and you'll have a center bushing and so bearings. And this is where you can replace traditional metallics with a green tweed composite solution to give you and often reduce your running clearances. The same with a vertical pump for your line shaft bearings or a typical overhung pump. So green tweed's WR materials, so WR stands for wear resistance. We have the potential to reduce the running clearances in your pumps by 50% to maximize the pump efficiency and performance. They offer high corrosion resistance, a broad temperature range and chemical compatibility, non-seize, non-gall, and we can offer extended life over metallic rotating components, so we can improve the overall pump efficiency. Our three materials are our WR300 and 525, which would be used for your case or impeller wearings and bearings, and our WR575, which you would use for your thrust plates and pads. Our PFA-based materials offer similar properties to our PEEK-based materials, but because they're PFA, so perfluoroalkoxy, they're more like a PTFE matrix. So they offer universal chemical resistance where PEEK would be attacked in certain chemical processes. And they offer best dry run capabilities again, because the PTFE, you know, it's pretty non-stick and a great material that you can use. Our AR materials is our abrasion resistant AR composites. So these are PEEK or PTFE composites. They offer exceptional abrasion resistance. So often used in cooling water pumps where you'd use to cool down chemicals and around refineries. And they offer a broad chemical compatibility and corrosion resistance because of the PTFE content. They offer excellent shock and impact resistance, again, non-gall, non-seize, which is pretty critical if you have any upset conditions within their pumps, and they can offer an extended pump service life. Here we have a case history from Chevron in the United States, where we worked with them very closely, and they were able to use our WR and AR materials along a refinery expansion, and they optimized to use any possible options to use our materials within their pump upgrades. And what we see here is a total of just under 6,500 pump population, and we increased their MTBR from 66 to 97 months. You know, so we increased it massive increases and gave them such an increase in their production ability over their life cycle of their pumps. Very similar with our AR materials. So these were 12 water pumps, circulating water pumps, and they had cutlass rubber bearings. And they were very abrasive media with salt water, and they suffered excessive wear and vibration, so premature pump failure. which led to bearing failures, so pump outage every 18 months. These were at ambient to 43 degrees Celsius temperature, high flow rates, and a low differential pressure. And what we did was used our AR1 material, and we were able to reduce their running clearance down from 0.6 of a millimeter to 0.38, which reduced their vibration down on their shaft by over 75%. And we gave them the additional safety factor because of the non-gall, non-seize properties of the material. And we actually doubled their pump life cycle. So we went from 18 to 36 months, and we saved them in maintenance savings, $1.5 to $2 million. And this was over a 12 pump range. And this was purely because we were able to double this increase in their pump life, which means they didn't have to spend £100,000 every time they needed to take this pump out to replace it. So the value of composites in pumps really is you can improve the system reliability, improve shaft stability, elimination of any secondary damage to the metal components, reduce of cavitation, and you can extend life pumping with solids in there. And we have enhanced efficiency and safety of the equipment. All of Green Tweed's materials offer non-gall, non-seize, but also have no sparks, which can be quite critical with some chemical processes. So our full composite solutions and offerings for pumps with our WR range, we have our WR300, which is a peak reinforced with short random carbon fibers. Our WR525 is peak with a continuously wound carbon fiber tape. Our 575 is made up of carbon woven plates. And again, it's the manufacturing process that gives the materials each unique property and various temperatures and pressure ranges. So we offer a complete solution within there, not just one material fits all. Very similarly with our WR600 and 650, but again, offering better chemical resistance and dry run capabilities. And then our AR1 and AR-HT materials for abrasive service. We also have a Zycomp holder, which is very lightweight. And if you're comparing this in a large vertical pump, replacing it from a duplex steel, it's a third of the weight. It's very much cheaper and easier to obtain for a full solution that's a fit-in for a vertical pump. We also offer labyrinth seals for gas compressors and Zycomp shell for certain types of pumps. So that is a very brief introduction to Green Tweed and our composite solutions for pumps.
Yeah, Dr. Young, I think very nice presentations and how pump efficiency can be increased by using thermoplastic composites. So you have several of those products. So now actually I'll be seeing that questions put in the chat. And so far we could see only two questions. One is addressed to Mr. Mandal of Reliance. So I'll read out the question. Does MCC prepares BTX itself, or it produces heavy naphtha for further reforming to produce BTX? This is the first one. Then subsequent question is that in MCC case, ethylene, propylene are very high. Together it is about 54%. Whether MCC is single process unit or combination of steam cracking and other units. Whether any other co-feed like methanol, ethanol are to be processed along with crude oil. So essentially three questions, Mr. Mandal. So if you can take those.
Okay. Let me just address, but I think if I can display my configuration, that answer will be very clean.
Yeah, please display it, no problem. Yeah.
Just a minute. Hope my presentation is visible, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You can see it here. The answer to the first question, whether aromatic is produced from MCC or heavy naphtha sent to the platformer. Question is that we need not to send the heavy naphtha to the platformer. It is not there anywhere configuration. The BTX is produced from MCC riser reactor. Only thing you have to separate this BTX from the naphtha. And we have a BTX aromatic separation process that is Reliance patented process. So you need to separate it. You need not to process heavy naphtha to platformer. That is the first question answer. Second is that as regards that propylene ethylene yield, see, you see the cracker furnace. Here we have a cracker furnace. So what extra unit you need is a cracker furnace where ethane and propane, that is a small amount of ethane and propane produced from MCC, which has to be cracked in the cracker furnace, and that again separate in the same gas con unit. So what extra unit you need required? It is only gas cracker for ethane and propane. So to make this, so whatever ethane and propylene yield I have produced or share, it is coming from the MCC unit. Third question, probably it is asked me to clarify whether to get this propane and ethylene, I need to process ethylene, ethanol and propanol or oxygenates. Question is not essential. Ethanol that or methanol or oxygenates can be processed. The cases where, suppose if you are processing all light feed, say for example, light naphtha or full range naphtha for making ethylene propylene. In that scenario, getting a heat balance will be a problem. So there, the oxygenates cracking, it will help because the oxygenates cracking is an exothermic reaction. So it generates the heat. So by methanol or ethanol cracking, you will get olefin as well as heat. So it will help for heat balance. So to answer that question, it is not essential to get the ethylene propylene to process ethanol or methanol propanol. It is advisable when your feed composition to MCC riser is a very light. At that time, this combination of the oxygenates will help for oxygenates or help for heat balance for the MCC unit. So that's the three questions. Hopefully, I have answered all those them.
Yeah. I think you answered well. Yeah, that's fine, Mr. Mandal. So you can unshare the screen. One question was Arvind, but again, question was that in last 3 years, how many refineries? I mean, Sutkemi has supplied catalyst, and where are those places located? So Arvind, actually, this is a live streaming question because it is going on YouTube and others. So if you can just address the way you want.
Sure, Dr. Sao, thank you for this question. I understand the question is more in generic if you supplied any indigenously made catalyst to the refineries. So the answer is almost every refinery in the country is using one or the other type of catalyst, be it for FCC or be it for hydrotreating, be it for hydrogen. I would say almost every refinery in the country has one or the other type of catalyst from Sutkemi.
Mm-hmm. So, Mitra, Fernandez, any other questions there in your from other platform for this any of the speakers?
Can I ask one question to Dr. Jagdish?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Dr. Jagdish, it was a nice presentation. I have one question. Like you have presented all of things, and out of them, one was that DMS, and then you have showed that for different application, you have a really use like 30 cent per barrel benefit or some energy demand saving. It's around 4 cents per barrel. So my question is that for energy demand saving or optimization, you said that compressor efficiency, furnace efficiency that improve the energy saving. So my question is that in the furnace, what kind of optimizations that gives you the benefit, whether using a pure oxygen or enriched air with oxygen, whether that can have a economic edge to minimize the energy. Can you just explain a little bit?
Yeah, very much. That is also a good option actually, where it is available. Okay, and also we are looking at some of these furnaces are operated at high COT, which may not be required actually. That's what we observed when we did the absorption, heat absorption actually. And that's where we could, we could lower the COTs and increase even throughputs actually. And as you rightly said, most of the furnaces in India are operated well above the efficiency levels. But as you really said, whatever the kind of oxygen, if you are able to get that kind of oxygen, which is possibly with this COVID, there is a lot of plenty of oxygen is available spare, I think, at most of things. So we can divert some of that oxygen back into the furnaces, which can give a good combustion. And I think, basically we are looking at two things in the energy reduction. As you know, we have even demonstrated at your place. One is the preheat side is very important. That's where we found most of the preheat is not well utilized for whatever reasons. On the furnace efficiency, most of the furnaces are right, but we are finding them, they're firing, the firing patterns or firing fuels has got some advantages, which we have seen a mix of that, how you can optimize those things. Of course, the burner side and all, as you rightly said, there are a lot of efficiencies we can bring in. And also you can look at some of these, the cookery or one of the specialists in those areas too. We are able to predict the coke formation very early on. So that is also helping us to improve some of these furnaces, to improve the cycle lengths. Even on the, on the captive power plants, we see some of these turbines are not operated well above the efficiency points. So these are some of the critical points which we have done improvements, which could bring about 4 to 5% reduction in the overall energy of the refinery.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, nice talking, Mandal.
Okay.
Yeah. Just last question. One question just is floating. I don't know whether it's correct. Question is again towards Mr. Mandal. What is the feedstock considered for producing 69% aromatics? Have you shown something 69% aromatics in the presentation?
No.
Yeah, that's what
that is a HVC, high value chemicals. So that is summation of ethylene, propylene, and BTX.
That's what I understand. So that's
BTX I presented, it is more than 15%.
Yes. That's what I could know. I also seen that more than 15%. Anyway, I think there is no more question. So I think it was an excellent panel by the 5 distinguished speakers. I mean, all covers to the very relevant topics today. 2 lectures were with respect to how we can increase the petrochemical intensity. And then by Dr. Jagdish and Mr. Young. So they have told, Jagdish has told that even from the existing asset, how we can optimize and do the process intensification to derive benefits. And Mr. Young has given in new materials using the composites. And finally, Mr. Arvind, even though time was a little less by him, but Arvind was mentioning that how that catalyst, what are the different challenges to have this catalyst manufacturing from the, innovation level to the manufacturer. That steps is quite steep in nature and how that can be overcome. So with this, I am actually concluding this session. Now over to Ms. Fernandez.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhusudan Sao, for agreeing to be the session chairman for this session on new technology interventions. I would also like to thank all the panelists and speakers, namely Mr. Sukumar Mandal, Dr. Satyan Kumar Das, Dr. Jagdish Donepudi, Mr. Arvind Narayanan, and Mr. Tony Young for joining us this afternoon. We have the next session on digitalization with Mr. Atul Paranspe as the session chairman, which starts at 3:45 IST. So we meet again after 8 minutes to continue with the next session on digitalization. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Madhusudan Sahu, for being the session chairman for this session.
Okay, thanks. Thanks to all of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Atul sir. I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for the...
I think they have joined. Dr. Tushar is there.
But we're still live. I'm just waiting for the pause.